Okay, go.
Welcome to a very special episode of Life, Love, Etc. I'm Mike Ivanov. We're here today with Dr. Anna Elton, and we're going to flip the script. Today, I get to ask the questions, and we're going to get some answers. So, how are you today?
I'm doing well. I know it feels weird to be on the other side, but thank you for playing the part with me.
Yeah, well, we're celebrating something very special, right? So, tell us, what do you got going on?
So I have my book, The Formula of Desire. So official release date is tomorrow, August 4th. It will be released in the United States and Canada. And also we have the worldwide release coming up in September. So it will be out, I believe, September 26th in UK and Canada. Then it goes to Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa. So I'm
I love it.
excited.
I love it. What a goal, right? I remember when you mentioned you were going to do it. Right? You told me a while back, and then here it is today, right? That's also an amazing accomplishment. Do what you say you're going to do, and here we are. So I read it. I loved it. As I was telling you a little bit earlier, some very special things in there. And one thing that really stuck out to me was the number 700. Do you want to share with us a little bit about what that means?
So when I was working on this book, the whole idea was to find the patterns, to find what's happening in long term relationships, why desire fades. Because the myth in our society is that at some point, desire is not even a real thing in long term relationships, right? And I said it can't be real, right? There must be something, there must be some kind of patterns, there must be something that's affecting our desire. So I wanted to learn and I wanted to find out. And I was looking at research about all the books on desire. And then pretty much the main message was focus on pleasure, right? Desire is not really a thing in long term relationships. And I said, it can be the thing, like there must be something else. So at that point I was reviewing my own client files. I started interviewing more couples. I was looking for something that's working, and I was not just looking at couples who came to therapy because their relationship struggling. I wanted to also talk to couples later in life who actually made it through this many years together, 20, 30, 40, 50 years together. And what did they learn? Is there something that they can teach their younger selves? Is there something that they can give to us, younger generation, of what helped them to sustain that desire? And that was a fun journey, and I was paying attention. I was looking for clues. I was taking notes. And the journey originally actually started long time ago. It was in 2020, I mean 2017. That's when I came up with one of the frameworks from the book. And then in the past couple of years I was interviewing and I was looking, and I added way more to the book. So
I love
more
that.
than 700 couples that was interviewed for this book.
And you've tested it all yourself, I'm
Of
assuming.
course. I've
Of
been with my
course.
husband for 25 years. So, I mean, he's my test subject, right? Something is working, not working. I just want to see how he responds to it. And then if he's responding well, then I can share it with others.
That's incredible. What would you say one of the biggest misconceptions is when we go down this path? What everybody's hearing that maybe we should adjust and look at differently.
There were multiple things. I mean, first of all, the whole idea for this book was to focus on desire. And that's why when I went to get my PhD, I decided to go for clinical sexology, because intimacy is one of the top reasons why couples fight, why couples go to therapy, why couples potentially can file for separation, divorce, and so on. Right. So, for this book, The Formula of Desire, the original title was The Formula of Relational Desire. So how to be how to have desire to be in relationship with your partner. And I guess multiple misconceptions, but one of that stood out for me was, so from research perspective, we have two types of desire. So one is spontaneous desire. Spontaneous desire is something that usually comes early in a relationship. You're excited, you want to be with your partner, you want to be intimate with your partner, right? That's the spontaneous desire. You just don't really do much, and then you feel desire and you want to have sex. That's it. Nice and simple, right? But then the second type of desire that's is usually associated with long-term relationship is the responsive desire. So usually, in that type of desire, is first you have the connection, then you have the physical touch that brings the arousal, and then you have the desire. So desire is psychological, arousal is physiological, right? So spontaneous desire, first you have desire, then arousal, then you have the act. In response of desire, first you have the connection, then you have arousal, then you have desire. So and then a lot of my couples coming in, or like individual clients, would come in and say like, hey, but I really want to have that desire that we used to have early in relationship. And what really stood out to me was one of my clients who was in her 20s. She came in and she said, it's been 5, 7 years with my partner. We're going to continue with our relationship, get married, but I want that desire back. And it really hit me. It was like, if, desire is not possible for someone who's young and good looking and healthy in their 20s, then what's happening for the rest of the
Yeah, no
world,
kidding.
right? And that's why I said like I really need to look closer and figure out what's going on. And the title for the book is the formula of desire. So I wanted to figure out, is there something tangible, is there something that we can follow to actually bring the desire back? Because I'm into math and science, so I want to know something specific. So that's why I was looking for those patterns. And going back to the whole tangent of, two desires, right? Spontaneous desire is only possible early in a relationship. Responsive desire is the only desire we should rely on. It's actually a myth. So what I realized, that spontaneous desire is not as spontaneous as we think. So think about early in a relationship. What do we do when we meet someone and we want to spend time with them? We want to be intimate with them. When we think of the date, right? We spend the time planning the date, right? For
Yep.
women, they pick the outfits, do the hair and makeup, and shave, whatever they do, right? For men, I don't know what men do, but I'm sure they they
Probably
have,
not enough. Probably not enough.
but whatever they do, but I'm sure they're preparing. And also, you also fantasize. You're looking forward to that date, right? Maybe even, texting, sexting, doing a lot of leg work for that desire. Then you have the fun time together, potentially new experience, which is super important to spark the desired novelty of new experience. And then we also know what's going to happen at the end of the night. We're going to have sex.
That's right.
So think about like all the preparation, all the steps that we took to have spontaneous desire. Now, fast forward, the couple got married, couple of kids later, they still want to maintain their intimate life. What's going to happen? Some couples say, well, therapists recommend to, put it on your schedule, put sex on your schedule. That's what we do. And then when they put it on a schedule, they get into the duty sex, right? So they say like sex is on Thursday at 12 when, we have lunch break from work. So at that point, we have about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, right? And we just want to get over it quickly, and then get back to the chores. And now, instead of, putting all the effort, all the excitement in that one thing, now we're trying to just do it as quickly as possible because it's on our list to check off the list. So that's the misconception about desire, right? So what I say, we need to bring the conditions to recreate that desire.
That's right. So there's something in the book about an old couple that you met. And I want you to tell a story because when I was reading it, I see those couples when I'm out and about, and it always touches my heart. And I'm always hoping that one day I'll get there with my wife. And, after reading your book, I know it will be a lot of hard work, but it'll be all worth it. But tell me
Mhm.
about that couple because that story stuck out to me. And I'm sure everybody would
Mhm.
resonate with everybody.
So that couple was interesting. So, and again, like I met a couple of old couples. And again, for me, because I was doing research and I was looking for the couples and I was paying attention how they were interacting with each other. And I'm thinking, I'm like this detective, right? Psychology detective. So I noticed the couple and they were really interacting with each other. And I was like, wow. And as I called it and I was joking, they look like the couple from the yogurt commercial. Think about this like a perfect elderly couple. So I came up to them and I introduced myself and I asked for the interview and I said like, I'm sure you probably get this all the time. And they said, oh, no, 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 this is our first time. Someone approached us and and again, like I didn't think anything of it, like this like weirdo girl coming approaching you, right, and saying like, hey, I'm doing this research, are you interested to participate?
Tell me
So they
more.
actually, yeah, they actually reached out and they were excited to share, and I had more couples after them same thing. People want to share. People want to talk about their experiences. They want to, you know, share the knowledge that they gained through the years. So what they told me was really, really interesting, which actually uh, proved the point, and that research, the first framework that I mentioned in 2017. So they said what was important for us, that it starts with us and it ends with us. So that was the rule that they made when they decided to become a couple
Yeah.
before they had children. And they made that selfish, quote unquote, selfish decision to fulfill the couple's persona, right? And now I'm going back to my framework, three selves model, right? So when we are single, we create the individual persona, what we need to do for ourselves, our hobbies, our likes, self-care, right? And when we meet special people, our someone who will be our partner, spouse, we create the second persona. It's the couple's persona. And at that point, we need to juggle both. We need to fulfill our individual persona and we need to fulfill our couple's persona. Because if we don't fulfill couple's persona early in a relationship, probably we're not gonna stay as a couple, right? It's just not going to work out. And then if we just fulfill the couple's persona, then we'll lose ourselves,
Hmm.
right? And then the relationship becomes unmatched. And again, codependency, toxic codependency, right? It's not healthy. So we still want to make sure that we maintain ourselves in that relationship, right? We're not losing ourselves. And then if we decide to have children, we create a third persona, which is a family persona. And what I've been seeing over and over in therapy room, that couples would come in and they say like, hey, we're struggling in relationship. And it's like, okay, let's talk about it. And then I asked them like, when was the last time you spent time as a couple? And they say like, oh, we just went out last week to dinner. And I said, just two of you, right? And they would say, like, oh, no, 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 with children. I was like, wait a second, how about just two of you? And they said, like, oh, long time ago, 10 years ago, before we had kids.
Oh
And
my.
that's a problem. That's what I've been seeing over and over and over again, that couple's persona is being neglected.
Yeah,
And when we spend time, partners and children, we think that we're actually fulfilling all the needs. But in reality, we're just fulfilling the family persona because we still have hats on parents,
that's right.
right?
Yeah,
But then we're not fulfilling the couple's persona. That's when we need to take hat off mom or dad and put a hat of erotic partner,
that's
romantic
right.
partner. And sometimes it's really hard, and that persona can get lost. And that's where you, instead of being romantic partners, you fall into the roommate dynamic.
I tell you, it's hard to when you talk to people, right, about this sort of thing. Most people want to say it's not in my relationship, right? The
Mhm.
first reaction for anybody is not in my relationship, and
Mhm.
no, we're good. And you defined a sexless marriage as one with you only have sex 10 times a year. That
you
was
you read you did your homework, because
I
I
did.
sometimes I ask people like, so, and again, like, I speak at the conferences, I teach classes, I actually teach at the Modern Sex Therapy Institute's PhD students. And I ask them like, so can you define, like, what is sexless marriage, what's the definition? And a lot of people say like, well, no sex, right? I was like, not exactly.
Hmm.
And same with couples, when I ask them like, what is the definition of sexless marriage, they say no sex. And I say like, it's actually 10 or less times per month, I mean per year, which is about once a month. And then some couples who come in, they say, we'll take that any day, because they have way less.
Wow. I so just for me, you talked about serving that personal persona and then the couple's persona, right? And then it talks a lot about how people are tired with a lot of things they have going on in life.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that when you are having sex with your partner on a consistent basis, you have more energy for life.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of all flows through it. So working on it, there is that reward to work on it, because I think at the end you have more energy for life, and you move through life in a different way. At least for me, because I've been on that ride, right, with
Mm-hmm.
my 20-year relationship, and I know what it's like when we're not right in the wave where we want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
And when it's right, like I'm on top of the world. So this
So
book's
there's
going to
this
change
actually,
things.
yeah, the phenomenon that researchers call sexual afterglow. So whenever you're intimate with your partner, you have the perfect cocktail of different hormones in your system that makes you feel, you glow, right? It makes you feel
Yeah.
happier, more motivated. and you have this chance 48 hours. So that window, 48 hours, you can actually be more productive, you have less stress, and you also have an opportunity to be more connected with your partner. And now think back again early to relationships when you first meet someone. After intimacy, you tend to cuddle, right?
Yep.
Couples in long-term relationships, what do they usually do after intimacy? They just get up and run
Back to the
to
list.
the back to the list. Exactly. So this is your opportunity. 5 minutes cuddle will help you to feel connected, and that's why when we think of that perfect window of being intimate, right? There's no right number of how many times is enough for for the person, right? It's just the
Right.
needs of the couple, as long as both partners are satisfied. So we can even create that range, right? So from research perspective, they say it's about like once a week is the kind, like a lot of people say that it's perfect for them. It's not too often, it's not frequent enough, right? But then also we go into once a month. That's the other side of that range, which is sexless marriage. So that's when you can keep yourself accountable and say like, so my goal is to be intimate maybe once a week, right? But maybe like we don't go more than, let's say, 2 weeks,
Yeah.
right? Or whatever it is, you create some kind of rule, and it's not that like you just on always like husband initiates or always wife initiates, right? You keep each other accountable, so you maintain your intimacy.
Yeah. It's a constant dance, like constantly for me. I find myself, I'll make mistakes and I can feel that desire meter start to kind of tick down a little bit. And I'm like, that was stupid. I shouldn't have said that. And then there's another part in the book that says, listen, if there's an argument going on and it doesn't contribute to making the problem better, then don't say it.
Hmm.
And then for me, it's like my ego will just sit there and I'll be like, oh, I got to say something. I got to prove my point. And the, so it's either I'm either want to prove my point or have sex less is really the decision that I have to make,
Well,
because my point is my ego, and I need to be okay with not being right.
yeah, I guess no one's winning, right? You just need to focus what's the goal. But and again, going back to the formula of desire, so what's important, right? It's not just like you turn on or turn off that desire for sex, right? It comes in parts, right? And then before you're intimate, usually you need to have the emotional connection, right? And again, going back to early relationship, first you're talking to someone, you're getting to know them, and then you spend time together, and then you become physical, right? So same thing, right? Like, because I feel like in long-term relationships, we just skip all the steps,
Yeah.
right? We just expecting that like we done it all before, now we don't need to do all the steps, we don't need to do this foreplay of talking to the partner, spending time, let's just have sex and get over with. But you need that emotional connection. And when I was doing research, I came across social penetration theory, so which was developed in 1970s. It's like an onion. So think about peeling the onion. First, when you meet someone, you start on the outer layer of that onion, right? You share with the person just general details about yourself, your name, your likes, dislikes, hobbies, and then as you getting to know them, you creating more intimate connection, you're going deeper and deeper and deeper to the core of the onion. So what happens in long-term relationships, you actually revert back to that outer layer. And that's when I hear from my clients saying that my coworkers know me better than my partner, right?
Yes.
And then sometimes you also think like, well, I've been with my partner 5 years, 10 years. I know my partner. There's nothing else to learn. But that's a problem. You need to stay curious because we all change, we grow, we develop, things change. And then because our partners never stop to ask us, so what do you like now? And in the book, I actually share one of the stories when, someone, came up with a gift for their anniversary and she was upset. That was the breaking point for her. She wanted to file for divorce because she's like, you don't know me anymore. You know me 10 years ago, but not now. And that's a problem.
I remember that
So
story specifically. I'm going right back to that story. I agree. What was the hardest part to write in the book? What was a real struggle to get down?
I think the real struggle was my first chapter because I mean, this is my first trade book, right? And I don't want to say like I had no idea what I was doing, but I was figuring out like how to do it, right? And originally I was like, okay, I want to find an agent, I want to be traditionally published. What should I do? And from all the things that I hear from other authors, I read online, it's really, really hard to find your agent, and it's about 1 in 6,000 chance to be signed by an agent. So,
Wow.
and I know like my husband's like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" He's like, "I'm supportive, but it sounds like you need to catch that unicorn, and I don't know if it's even possible." And I told him like, "Listen, let me do this. I will pitch to agents. I will." Take 6 months, and then if I don't hear back, then I'll go back to the drawing board and I'll figure out what's next. I don't want to give up. I want to give it a chance, and then we'll see what happens. And then I made a list of 250 agents, and then I decided, oh, okay, let me go through the list. So I spent Saturday pitching to agents, and I reached out to 38 agents.
Wow.
So I was exhausted, and then, but the cool thing was I started hearing back within like 20 minutes, an hour from agents, and by 24 hours, I had 6 responses,
Oh my gosh.
which was crazy to think about. And I was like, oh my goodness, because a lot of agents, you just send them a letter. You don't even send proposal. You don't send anything. You just send 1 page letter. And then if they're interested enough, they will ask for the full proposal.
Oh my gosh.
So, and at that point, I was asked for the full proposals, and I was like, oh my God, this is exciting. I don't know what to do. So I was like, okay, here's my proposals. Well, let's see what's going to happen. And then um, on Monday, so I pitched on Saturday, sent proposals on Sunday, some proposals I sent on Saturday. And then on Monday, I was working with clients, and then I received a call on my phone. And then I looked at the number, and it was one of the agents who requested proposal. And I'm googling, is it normal that agent reaches out
Yeah,
to
right. Yeah,
offer? And
exactly.
Google was like, no, this is not typical, but it's a good sign. And then
That's awesome.
I'm asking my husband, I was like, should he call her back? He's like, yeah. And I was like, I'm afraid. So I called her back. I left her voicemail. Then she called me back within like 15, 20 minutes. We had a conversation. And then she told me, like, okay, I want to give you a contract. So, and then she sent me a contract, and I took 24 hours to think about it because I was like, okay, what's the rule? So I have 6 people who asked for my, proposal. Do I just wait? Do I talk to all of them? Do I say no? So I decided to go with my agent, Jill Marcel. She's been doing this for 20 years. She's also a lawyer, Harvard trained lawyer. So I was like, okay, I mean, what am I
Perfect.
waiting? So and then I
Perfect.
reached out to other agents. I withdrew my proposals, and yeah, and then it took another month, and which was really really fast to get a book deal. So I had 10 publishers interested, and then we got to the final two, and then I got the offer, and I was happy with the offer, and then the whole process started. So when we met, and we believe in May of 2025, right? 2025.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's when I signed the contract. So we met in May, right? So I signed the contract in March, and I was just working on the book. So, and again, like going back to nonfiction. So you don't write the whole thing, you just give them 1 chapter,
Hmm.
an introduction, maybe 2 chapters, right? But you need to give them the full proposal, marking plan, and then outline of the book.
Okay.
So my original chapter that I gave them, it's nothing like the first chapter in the book right now. I think I rewrote that chapter like
Oh,
5, 6 times.
oh
And
my.
then I even took parts of that chapter and I made separate chapters because I don't know like how much I want to give them. I was trying to impress them, right? So I had this like big soup of like stuff. And one of the parts from that chapter I took out, and then I created a separate chapter, which is chapter 10.
Okay.
It's when things are not exciting anymore, about sexless marriages. So it was also all in chapter 1, but then as I said, like I dissected and I went back and I took some stuff out, I put some stuff back, and also like one of the things I wanted to do, I didn't want it to be this standard nonfiction book. I wanted to be something more interesting, and that's where I went and started looking for like different stories and legends, and I wanted to be like more creative, more of the narrative nonfiction.
Yeah.
And in introduction, I don't know if you noticed the story about Nico, the painter. Did you hear that? Did you ever came across the song based
No.
on the legend?
No.
So it's the actual popular Russian song by Alla Pugacheva. It's the Million of Red Roses.
Oh, that's cool. No
So,
kidding.
and I remember growing up hearing the song, and then realizing later on that actually it was based on a legend. And when I was writing the book, I remembered the song. I was like, oh, let me look into the legend, and that's where I included it in the
Look
book.
at that. You
So,
know, it's this is a book that you read over and over again and that you keep with you forever. You know, that's at least how I read it. I feel that it's I have like a stack of books that I know I'm going to read for a lifetime, right? And
mhm,
this is one of those books. So thank you. And you know, I'm glad I found you the way I did because this
mhm,
book I truly believe will change people's lives and their relationships. And I guess what I'm wondering, if I could ask one
mhm,
question, would be how do I recommend this book to other people, you know, because it's a hard thing. You know, I say, hey, listen, I think you should work on your
mhm.
relationship, but I really think everybody should, and this book will show you how. How do I bridge that gap, and how do I make that recommendation to others?
So I don't know, like I think there's a couple of things. So this book is just not focusing on sex, right? Because for some
Right.
people, like, oh, like I want to learn more how to make my sex life more exciting. And there are chapters, right, to talk about how to make it more exciting and
Sure.
what are the barriers to intimacy, right? For especially for women, right? There's this chapter on desire equilibrium and what happens, why women have less desire, as the time goes on. But I think the whole idea is this book, you don't have to read the full book, right? And in my introduction, I actually list different chapters that you can go to. If you still early in a relationship, or if you planning to meet someone, you can just start with maybe chapter 2, right? It talks about attraction, it talks about desire, it talks about maybe even unfinished business, or why we pick people that we pick, and then like why sometimes we fall for the toxic cycles, right? And so maybe we want to start with that, right? Some people say like, I just want to improve communication, and I would say 99.9% of couples want to work on communication. So maybe you can go to communication and conflict resolution chapters, which is 7 and 8, right? Maybe you want to know, I don't know, like as I mentioned, physical connection, what needs to happen. Or maybe even like I talk a little bit about desire diversion, which is sometimes what happens to infidelity, right? Like where our desire doesn't fade, but it changes direction, and not always into infidelity. That's the really, really interesting finding that I found, because not every single person who did not have desire for the partner at the moment were unfaithful. Sometimes that the desire into self. It
Mhm.
could be in parenting, right? You put all your desire into parenting, think of that family persona, right? And then away from the couple's persona. Sometimes you put into your self-care in gym, right? You want to be in shape, but if you're the whole desire is like organized around your gym, now you're not spending time with your partner because you're going to the gym. Now you're not sharing meals together because you're on a diet, right? It really affects your relationship. So there's a lot of parts. And then I think the coolest thing that I found was from research in 2025. So what they said is the relationship satisfaction is not measured by how long the couple's been together, but not by years, by trajectory of the relationship, how close each partner to break up. That's interesting, right? But then
Mhm.
also you're saying like, how do I know? Like, okay, maybe I'm not happy in a relationship, and I know that maybe I'm close to break up or not, right? But then how do you know where your partner stands? Because what I see in sessions, two people come in, both want to work on relationship, but then when I ask them what's the goal, one would say, I want to improve the relationship. The second partner could say like, I want to see if this relationship could work out. They could be quite quitting for many years, and they got to the point where they kind of done. So when you take the test, so I have the test for this book, it comes with the book. It's the relational desire score. It measures the health of your relationship.
I
So there are
think it.
5 tier, yeah, 5 tiers. So when two partners take the test and you can match the results, you can see where each stands.
My wife and I took it together. You know, it was fun. We sat next to
Mhm.
each other. I took her score. I took mine. And it's funny to see the difference. Like I might rate something high and she's like, whoa, dude, like, no. So it's good just to get it right there. And then we have like our little takeaway that like the one
Mhm.
subject, two subjects we got to work on to
Mhm.
get that score higher, right? I love it because again, you talk about having some certain frameworks you can walk away with. This
Mhm.
is the stuff you need because what you don't want to do is you don't want to read the book and then put it away and never read it again.
Yep.
Like this has so many learning pieces in it. I mean, so much stuff. I love it. I'm super excited. I'm excited about what we have coming up on Wednesday, right?
Mhm. Yeah, we have a
August
book signing,
5th.
yep, book signing at Barnes and Nobles in Natick on
You know,
August 5th, 6 to 8 p.m.
I'm excited.
So, but you know what's the best part? So, the first test, first assessment, relational desire score. So, you take the test, see like if you're doing well or not well. So, if you both score well and you're saying like we're really healthy in our relationship, now you can take the second test, is the currency of desire to make your sex life more exciting. It's like a love language, but for desire. What's the top currency? So, in
Currency.
that,
Yep. I
yep.
see
So,
it.
that's a fun one as well. So that's where, the book website, theformulaofdesire.com, has assessments, interactive exercises, what else? Videos, articles. I write for Psychology Today. So it has a lot of tools. And the best part, it also has access to Desire Lab, additional exercises and assessments that you will get with the book as well.
So just one thing before we finish, it makes it sound easy, but I know deep down inside, right? How difficult is it? You've been doing this work a long time. How do you keep it moving and not look at it like a giant mountain you have to climb? And how do you break it down? What's the first kind of step into it?
So I would say we want to like the goal is to bring fun back into relationship because I think every single couple who I interviewed, when I asked them like back then versus now, what's missing, and they all said fun and lightness, right? And it makes sense. If we don't have fun, what's the point?
Yeah.
So, how do we bring that fun and excitement and lightness back into our relationship? I would say number one, you need to start to look for something good, right? Because if we spend a long time with a partner, we again like follow the shortcuts and we skip all the good stuff. We expect that our partner is doing good, being good, and doing what they're supposed to do, but we disregard it and we just focus on what's not being done. And there's a saying is bad is greater than good, right? Even if nine good things happen, there's only one bad thing happen. We tend to hyper focus on that one bad thing. And now think about like what's going on. So instead of saying like, hey, I love you, I appreciate you, and all the positive stuff that used to happen early in the relationship, right? That's why this relationship happened in the first place. Now you're just either focusing on logistics, right? Reverting back to,
Yeah.
that outer layer of the onion, social penetration theory, or you're just saying all like something that's not being done, right? It's either neutral conversations or negative conversations. So, what I usually tell my couples, especially if they're not doing well, I would say number one, for 1 week, try to focus on what's going well. First, make mental notes and then start saying it to your partner. And then whatever we think affects the way we feel and affects our actions. If we think our partners are lazy, not helping us, don't care, we're not going to feel good about the relationship and we're going to come up
Right.
snappy and like whatever it is, right? Short, hard startup in conversations, right? If we feel like, oh wow, my partner, really tried to make coffee every single morning for me, my partner took care of this, my partner, this, you feel good and you know that your partner is there for you, they're helping you, and the way you come off is different, right? So I would say number one, you need to start with something positive. Number two, try to allocate time to have conversations. Even small, check-ins can help to improve the relationship. And I work with this couple. They've been together for like maybe 12, 15 years, a couple of kids later. They haven't been intimate, a lot of fighting. And then one thing that changed everything, including intimacy, was check-ins. 5 minutes. When they come back from work, saying like, hey, how was your day? What's been going on? How are you feeling? How are you doing with this? 5 minutes change their relationship.
Wow.
So next one would be attention, right? You need to make sure that you're being intentional with the time as a couple. And super, super important because some couples say like, yeah, we need to do something, and then they not end up not doing it. So you need to schedule it. You need to plan it ahead. And sometimes couples say, like, well, we have kids, we don't have time. But for some reason, you have time to scroll on your phone in the evening, right? But you don't have time to connect with your partner. So small moments of connection, if you want to have great sex life, you need to make sure you're warming that engine. It's like New England, right? You don't expect that, car to start up after the long winter of not doing anything.
Yeah.
So think about like small connections, say something positive to your partner, give your partner a hug because hugs, 20-second or longer hugs, trigger oxytocin, love and bonding hormone, which helps us to feel more connected to our partners and also helps to lower our stress level. So small hugs, small touches, and then intentional time together. So those are the kind of main things that help us to create this relational desire. And I would say one homework, right? I know we need to start wrapping up the episode, but one homework tonight. It's my favorite. So A through Z date nights.
Oh, I love this.
Take the alphabet and think of different things. Be creative. Different things that you used to do with your partner or you never done and you always wanted to do, right? So A could be axe throwing, arcade, art gallery. B could be bowling, beach walk, burlesque. I went to see burlesque when we went to New Orleans. My favorite is M. It's movie and massage. So my husband picks a movie, I get a massage. I pick a movie, I get a massage. So it's my favorite.
That's awesome.
And again, like be creative, think of different things. And then this way you can actually do a lot of different activities that will help to increase that desire. Because from research perspective, the novelty helps with desire.
Love it. Fill the battery, right? Keep charging the
Mhm.
battery a little bit. Go
Yep,
have some fun, and everything else will disappear. All that stress that ruins
absolutely.
desire. I love it. I love the book. Amazing work. It's
Thank
been
you.
fun. It's been so fun. I'm looking forward to Wednesday.
Awesome. So once again, everyone can find it on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, other stores. And then I think the hub for the book is theformofdesire.com. That's when you can take assessments. You can find all the places where you can purchase the book, all the videos. I created the short animation videos from the frameworks from the book. A through Z exercise is actually interactive exercise. You can create your own and print it out for yourself. So you have the cheat sheet because some clients like, I don't know what to do. We usually go either see a movie or we get sushi, right? That's it. So that actually on the website you can find different ideas for dates.
Excellent. Amazing work. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Thank you for interviewing me and it's definitely fun. And I know we need to start wrapping up. And I'm excited. I'm excited to do this again. And I want to actually do it live on Wednesday. So we'll see. Stay tuned, right? And for our live conversation again. And
Be
again,
ready to sign. Be ready to sign some.